All right, so welcome back. Just going to bring up my slides. Make sure I've got the right day for you. So we're going to start with some training. Then we're going to have some writing time. And then we're going to have some story sharing time. Very, very exciting. This is the first, well, we've heard some of yours, some bits and bobs over the week, but this is the first time that we're going to hear a very rough first draft. Okay, they're going to be jumbled, messy, there's going to be moments of brilliance in them, and you'll all learn from hearing other people's stories and my response to them how you can be making them better. So we're going to start talking about structure, because nothing flows without structure. A river without a riverbed and riverbanks would be a boggy marsh. Now that may be beautiful, right? But it would not be flowing. And we want your wild words and wisdom and beautiful healing messaging for the world going out into the world. So we need to put structure to the wild flow of your magic. So today we're going to get into structure, order, editing, all of those absolutely critical elements of creativity. Sometimes people think they are the opposite of creativity. They are not. They are an integral part of good creativity. So we have been exploring the center of the sun, your vision, the essence of your vision, the essence of you, how people feel around you as a result, which is your natural brand, and you want to be making sure that you are beaming that out into your brand in both the words and the visual elements of your brand. And then the transformation that you create simply by being you. This is when work gets to be so easeful, because you've done all the thinking, the crafting, the shaping, the planning, and you get to show up as you with clients who have chosen you, your energy, your way of expressing things, your way of being, and you get to be you and see the transformation unfold and the ripples go out into the world. So we've sent out, it was up in the group last night. Unfortunately, there was a little tech hiccup, so the email replay has only just gone out, but we've sent you this sort of empty version of the Message Magic model so that you can scribble your version, your copy into it. And then based on what that magic is, I started talking with you yesterday about who therefore your work is for, right? Who gets your magic? Who are your real ideal clients? And the way to get to that is to answer the questions, who wants that? Right? Who wants that transformation? And who would you love to get to support in that way? Who would it be fun for you to work with? Who would it be fulfilling to work with? And who would working with actually have the greatest impact towards your vision? Because I know for a lot of you, having a big impact is a desire. Right? So choosing where you place your work is one of the ways that you can make sure you're having a big impact. Okay, so that's definitely something to consider carefully if you have a desire to be making a big impact in our world. And then the answers to those questions and your magic get to form your message in a more practical, outcome-orientated way through the lens now of understanding who it's for and what they're wanting, right? So we had some really, really great examples yesterday. I see if I can remember the wording of them. I remember the energy and the essence of them. So, Rianne helps parents to trust their instincts to create a family environment of love, right? Really clear, interesting, different, but very, very clear as to what the outcome is, right? Why the correct parents for Rianne would hear that and go, yes, she can help. We want that. We want a family environment of love. Yeah, and we want to get there by learning to trust our instincts. And then we had Lisa, and we shifted the messaging from being one that was kind of very vague and amorphous, just about creativity in general, to something like I help artists or I help creatives to stop hiding the very part of them that would make their work unique, so that their work becomes a more truer, fuller expression of themselves, and they can charge 10 times the price, right? Suddenly, the creators who have been holding back, right? Those people that have been having a dream, doing one thing, but going, but what I really want to be doing is this, right? Maybe they're teaching art, but what they really want to be doing is using art as a healing tool. Yeah, or maybe they're using art as a healing tool, but what they really want to be doing is having a gallery of their own art. Yeah, so it's speaking to those, what do you really want to be doing? Come on. And with her understanding that those desires are going to be being held back by that part of them that is scared. So she now knows she gets to do the deep healing work. She gets to do the safety creation work. She gets to do the creativity unleashed work. But people are stepping in because they understand that crucial, crucial question, what's in it for me? We have to make sure we are answering that question in our marketing. Otherwise, nobody is going to step across the door. People are going to glance in, go, interesting, and wander on. So who do you help do what? And that becomes your message, right? That becomes your front door, your captivating, compelling front door messaging. It does not mean it's all you do. Yeah, you can have gorgeous, multicolored flowing dresses in the window, and then when someone steps across the threshold, they see, oh, you also sell tops. Oh, and you also sell trousers. And is that a photo frame I spy in the background? And are they some pretty earrings and shoes and handbags? Right? You can, if you choose, have an Aladdin's cave of offers in the back end of your business. But if you try and put them all up the front, it's going to look like a jumble sale and no one's going to come in. So we want your front-facing, front door messaging very, very, very clear, specific, concise. The more you add to your front-facing messaging, the less money you will make. That is what they call a writer downer. The more you add to your front-facing messaging, the less money you will make. I just pause because I have a sudden query as to whether I am showing my slides. Am I showing my slides? I can't see anybody. I'm going to pop out.
You can't see your slides.
You can't see my slides. You can't see the beautiful slides. Thank you, Monica. I do not know what happened. I must have not clicked a button or two. Okay, I'm going to whiz through. Did anything not make sense not having the visuals, Monica?
No, it made sense.
Okay.
It made sense.
So here's the beautiful river, right? The wild flow that needs a structure.
We still can't see any slides.
Why can't, okay, now that's weird because I definitely
But
did
you
it.
still make sense even without the slides.
Thank you, Marco. Okay, I'm going to try again. This is very weird. I know what I didn't do. Okay, and someone's trying to come in. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. Here we go. Now can you see the wild flow of the river?
Yes.
Woohoo! Brilliant, thank you. So here's the river that needs the riverbank and the riverbed in order to flow. That was all a recap, so you've seen all of that. That will have been sent out to you this morning. Who do you help do what? Your message on the front door. And knowing that a captivating message answers the question, what's in it for me? However kind someone is, however generous, however selfless, however spiritual, however loving, they still are going to be asking the question when it comes to potentially working with someone, when it comes to potentially, spending money with someone, they're still always going to be asking, what's in it for me? So we need to accept that and make sure we are answering it. And so it comes to this question of why them, right? Why them? What's in it for them? So we have been working with the why. This is your vision. You have been crafting your story moments, and these are going to come together magically to be your why you stories, right? Those moments from your life that when shared with the right people, have them recognize you as their right person. And then it's really important that we also get in this why them piece, right? What's in it for them? Why should they care? What are they going to get, experience, receive as a result of working for you? So your message always needs to be through the lens of your ideal clients and what they're wanting, what they are looking for. So, in terms of structure, and this is why we couldn't really talk about structure until we've talked about who, the structure is going to be based on who. Okay, so a couple of examples. Let's say your ideal client is a visionary, right? A visionary, creative kind of type, right? So I know that's true for Rhiannak, I know that's true for Lisa, I know that's true for sort of half of Maggie's clients. So those kinds of people are going to be very, very comfortable if they ask you what you do and you respond with a vision, right? They're going to be more than comfortable, they're going to love it, right? It's going to be a really interesting response to that question. So imagine you're out networking and you meet someone and they say, so tell me what you do, right? Which is the normal question when you're out networking. And instead of explaining what you do, which is also a normal response, but not a good one, if instead of doing that, you respond with, well, I dream of a world where the highly sensitive voices are the ones that we get to hear on the radio and on the podcasts and the ones in government making the curriculum and the laws. And that's why and then you would go on to share what you do. So you could start, it might feel at first, when you're first trying it out, it might feel a bit odd. It might feel clunky. It might feel frightening even. But I promise you, if you respond to the question, what do you do, with a vision answer, oh my goodness, you're so much more likely to then enter a much more interesting conversation and a much more deep conversation and a much more real and heart-opening conversation. And that's how you create connection, and that's how you have the most likelihood of, if it's correct, having that person become a client or wanting to introduce you to other people, wanting to bring you onto their platforms, wanting to refer you. So you can start, if appropriate to your audience, with the why. Right? Someone asks, what do you do? You don't tell them what you do yet. You tell them your vision. Okay? Another example of structuring based on who you're talking to. Let's say who you're talking to is very straight-laced, sort of like middle managers, right? That's probably not going to build rapport. If they ask what you do and you share something very visionary, they might be thinking, that's not what I asked. Or, that's a little bit grandiose. Maybe, right? It's important to understand who we're talking to, where they're currently at, and therefore how to build rapport. So for that kind of a group of people, you might want to go much more direct and start with the why them, right? Start with what's in it for them. Start with your marketing message, very clear, very direct, very what's in it for you. If you nail that bit, and what you do and what's in it for them is what they need and what they want, then they're listening. Then they're listening because you've answered their most important question, what's in it for me, right? Whereas with people who are more open, perhaps more sort of energetically astute, perhaps more holistic in their way of living, and they understand that business and vision and spirit and energy are all connected, for them answering what you do with a vision, a why, absolutely fine. You also could choose to start with why you, right? So this, and we're going to go more, I think, when are we doing this? Monday, I think. No? That's a lie. Next week. Next week, we're going to talk more about structuring based on where, okay? Because that's also a really important element. Where in your client journey, but also where, literally, like, is it on your homepage? Is it on a podcast? Is it in a social media snippet? Because that, of course, is also going to impact how you tell your story, how you structure your story. But for example, you might choose to answer, so tell me what you do, with a why you story on a podcast, right? Because podcasts, you have more time. People, if you imagine how people listen to podcasts, they're listening, right? They're not at their computer. They're not sort of sitting there in a learning mode. They're probably cooking or going on a walk or on their Peloton, and they're listening to a podcast, and it's much more of a sort of sit back, receptive, listening to this hopefully interesting conversation kind of context. So there you can absolutely go straight in to why you. Okay, and then obviously here are just the various 6 different ways that you can combine the why, your vision, the why you, your story moments, and why them. Yeah, your message, what's in it for them, why should they care? So have a little think about which order works best for you and your audience. Now, ultimately, what we're going for is an ability to share all of these pretty quickly, right, pretty concisely, and then to be able to extend them out like a concertina, okay, so that you could decide that you're going to spend 20 minutes at the beginning of a webinar, first of all conjuring the why, the vision, what it's all for, talking about why you, those moments that make you the person to be doing what you're doing, and then talking about why them, what for them, making sure you've got commitment, making sure that they're excited about what you're offering, and then going into the teaching, reminding them about the why, right, what you're really up for, what's in it for them, and then segueing into the sale. That would be a really nice webinar structure. And similarly, you want to be able to communicate all of these in about 3 minutes. All right, about 3 minutes, so that you can express that big why, have those people for whom that is the exciting thing, right? The ones that are kind of consciously on this, wow, we're at a really exciting / tumultuous time on earth. We need as many people, you know, on the adventure consciously as possible. This person is daring to speak it out loud. Yes, I want to join their movement. I want some of what they're having. Yeah. And then an understanding of why you're the person to be leading us on that journey. And always crucially, what's in it for them. So again, have a think about which works best for you and your audience. And then we get to editing. So when it comes to editing, we need to be thinking about specificity, right? Are you saying enough? Are you saying enough? What I've found over teaching this course now over many years is either people don't say enough or they say too much, right? So either they don't say enough and it's all kind of a little bit vague and we're like, what's happening? I don't know where we are. I don't know what I'm supposed to be paying attention to. Like, you need to be more specific and clear and know that you're in control of the story. Remember, you have the camera. Yeah, you're the director of the story through your words. So are you saying enough? Are you letting your audience in? Or are you trying to keep them on the outside? Yeah, sometimes, and this can happen unconsciously, but people are still in slightly protector mode, right? In voice dialogue, we call this self the protector controller. And the protector controller's role absolutely is to keep you safe, right? Through protecting and through controlling how you behave, how you show up. And sometimes what can happen then is in the storytelling, there's this sense of, you can come this close, but no closer. And there's this energetic barrier. And obviously it is up to you. And obviously you do get to choose. You can come this close and no closer. You do get to choose that. But make sure you choose it consciously, not unconsciously, from this protector controller place where you're trying to keep yourself safe based on, as I know a lot of you understand because you work with this yourself in different ways, based on old, outdated understandings of safety. Okay, so let your audience in. Now, some of you may go in the opposite direction and over-contextualize and over-explain and give way too much content and way too much context that isn't important to get the point of your story. The antidote to this is trust your audience. Trust them. Trust that they will get it. And I've put here, drop them in, because it's a super powerful, engaging and captivating thing to do, is to just start in the middle of a story. Just drop your audience in, conjure the world of the story and go, right? Do not take 2 paragraphs to set the scene. So a little bit more about specificity. I've already taught you 2 ways to do this. 2 ways to use specificity in your storytelling are by using the senses and using the emotions. So hurrah, you already know how to do that. The 3rd way to make sure that you are being specific enough is to make sure that you are talking about these universal themes that we'll all be talking about, but in a personal way. So again, what a lot of people do in terms of communicating is they talk about stuff, right? They talk about love or about fear, and they give you coach speak, they give you therapist speak, and that is not compelling. What is compelling is telling us your stories, right? Your personal lived experiences of these universal themes, of love, of fear, of doubt, of the inner critic, right? Of the inner child, but through stories in a personal way. That's when your audience will be with you. That's when they'll be connecting. And that's when they'll have these corresponding stories of their own rise up inside in response to your stories. Versus if you tell them about love, fear, self-doubt, confusion, you're in your head describing it, they'll be in their head receiving it. They'll either be sitting there going, yeah, I know, right? Or, I don't understand what she's talking about. Because you're just describing something. Or there might be a middle ground where they're going sort of, oh, that's sort of theoretically interesting, right? But they're not feeling anything. And we make our buying decisions from our feelings. So we absolutely, as business owners wanting to grow our audiences, wanting to grow our client base, need to learn how to evoke feelings. And again, the way we can do that, the way we can be specific, the way we can evoke feelings is by really sharing what happened, right? Don't leave your audience out in the cold. Don't leave them wandering, peeking in through a window. Let them in. Invite them to sit down by you by the fire and tell them what happened. Okay, so a little bit more about specificity there. And then in terms of not giving too much context, check your writing. Where are you over-explaining or over-contextualizing? Where are you telling instead of showing? Okay, remember that when it comes to storytelling, we want to show, not tell. Delete it. Delete it. Like anything in your writing where you're trying to explain something, teach something, have them understand something, delete it. Delete, 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 and drop your audience in to the story. Okay, so we're going to pause there, and I'm going to come out and have a look at the chat. Diana says, I can do both, over and under contextualize. Over and under inform. You're so versatile. Well, brilliant. Brilliant. You have the versatility, and now you can choose and you can find the middle ground. Excellent. All right. And thank you for your support with the slides. Okay. So we're going to have some writing time. What I want you to do is create your very, very awful first draft version of the whole structure. So remember, the whole structure includes why, yeah, the vision, why you, a couple of moments from your life, 1 to 3, and then why them. Yeah, what's in it for them? Why should they care? Okay, what do you help them do? And you can take those 3 pieces and you can put them in any order. Occasionally you will just use one, right? And sometimes you will put them all together and you will have a beautiful, cohesive story, 3 stories essentially, that explain what you do, why, and why you do it. Okay? And making sure that you are letting your audience in, let them in, trust them to get it, trust the story, and trust story as the most powerful communicating form that we've been doing forever, right? That we as humans have been sitting around the fire, passing stories down through generation to generation. We all at some point or another have learned through parable or metaphor or an analogy. Like, we get, as humans, we get the language of story. Okay, so trust the language of story to communicate your point. So what we're going to do, we use 3 stories from our lives. For the why you can use 1 to 3. Okay, so you might find that one moment communicates everything you want to say. And then you might find you need a few more. But this is going to come out best in our workshopping and our sharing. Okay, you're all going to learn from each other. So it's not a 3-minute rule, but yes, essentially you want to get to the point where you can do the whole thing in 3 minutes, and then, like a concertina, you can expand it and have it. You have your long versions and have your short versions. So what we're going to do is we're going to take half an hour, right? Because this is a lot. It's going to require some thinking, some plotting, and some creative writing. So half an hour of writing time. And then I'm just either, so there are 2 ways we can make this work. Either, because I'm going to be on hand to do coaching and help those of you that need it. So either we can kind of pop off into a Zoom room and it just be you and I, or we can do it here. But what I want to make sure is we're not interrupting people that want quiet writing time. So then you would all need to turn off the volume if you want to be doing quiet writing. So, but then that would mean that you could hear the coaching, those of you that wanted to. So put your hands up if you want me to do that second way, so that you can choose to listen in if you want to listen in. Okay, that's the majority. Okay, so we'll do it that way. So if you want quiet writing time, then you need to mute me, right? You need to turn the volume off so you can't hear. So set an alarm for yourself if you're going to turn the volume off, because otherwise you won't hear me when I say come back. So we're going to take half an hour. So set your alarm for 10 past whatever the next hour is for you. Okay. 10 past the next hour, we're going to come back. So if you want quiet writing time, turn the volume off and set an alarm for 10 past the next hour and start writing. And that might be all of you. And if you want my help, put your hand up. Carol, and then Karen.
I'm having problems with the word moment, because with what you've just said about the specificity and needing to evoke emotions, when I sort of look back on my life, I can see events that have a whole host of moments,
Yeah.
and my memory is no way going to remember those. And that's where I've been getting blocked. I did have an aha yesterday after you shared about when you saw your model, when you were talking about the essence of the vision, and you were saying that in the future we wouldn't have these things to worry about, so we can forget about them as such, because then we can be just this. I realized I hadn't done that when I was essencing my vision. So that inner strength piece was what I see people needing now to be able to go into that vision. Well, that's now released everything up a bit, because I've got a new word that I'm playing with for my essence, which is now boundless. But yeah, because we've got nothing to restrict us. We know who we are because we've been parented in that way.
Yeah.
So we've grown up knowing who we are and feeling confident in ourselves and good about ourselves. And it's like, oh my God, that makes so much more sense now. And I'm just getting shit as I say that. But I'm suddenly going back to, where the hell in my life have I had moments of that? And yeah, can you say anything more on that?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yes, good, I'm not muted. Diana's just put, I can't mute you. Or Diana, what you'll need to do is turn the volume off on your device. Make sense? Okay. That's such an interesting distinction, Carol. I love that. And it gives you clarity on your magic, right? On the work piece. So that it's about helping people reparent so they have that inner strength, inner foundation, knowing that's what gets us to boundless.
No, I'm not doing the reparenting. Rianne's doing the reparenting. That's
no, I
not
don't.
my...
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
right,
but you were talking about we've been parented in such
we have
a
been
way
neglected.
Yeah. So you're helping people find inner strength, whatever this is.
Yes, that could be one of those things. Yeah, yes, as part of my work, and also very much seeing their gift and seeing what's possible for them, because I've got that expansion magic and I just see it. It's in my design. Of seeing what's possible for them, seeing their USP, things like that.
Okay, great. Telling people you can help them find their USP is much more attractive than telling people you can help them step into what's possible. Because everyone wants to know what their USP is.
I wish I could just do my own.
No, but this is how it works, right? This is how it works. And I know it's annoying sometimes, but I also think it's one of like the big cosmic jokes, is that we can't do for ourselves what we do so well for others, and therefore we all need each other. It's like, haha, none of you can do this by yourself. You're going to have to figure out how to work together. Yeah. Great. Okay, so what's your question?
I think it's just because I work at that big picture level. I'm finding it really hard to hone back down in to identify moments in my life where I've shown the essence of that vision. And maybe I'm making too big a thing about it, but I've been blocked in writing anything.
So if your USP is helping other people find their USP, but also this big picture, like seeing the whole, do you see the whole picture and also how it fits together?
I see what's within them, their experience, and I just get an energetic sense. I look at their human design, but I'm looking at it energetically. I feel it.
Yeah.
I don't just look at it and do it in my head, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
And then something comes together. So that's what I can see. And then it's supporting them and getting through whatever is getting in their way from stepping into that. That makes sense.
It makes total sense to me. And who do you work with? Or who do you want to work with?
I see it as working with, and I haven't got the description, but the business owners, so that, because my thing is I think they're holding back from truly stepping into what they can offer out of fear of judgment, othering, and all of this, that, and the other. And I think they really step up their game, and then they're going to be having the impact on everyone else. So I'm working with the leaders, the owners, etc., so that it then filters down.
Yeah, great. What's really great for you, Carol, is human design is really having a peak moment, and I would roll with that. So normally, obviously, the advice is don't sell the how unless the how is really juicy and exciting and currently very popular. So if you do human design, you want that like on your front door right now, because people are lapping up human design right now, especially business leaders. Yeah, the ones that kind of in those.
But they're looking for readings, and it's not about just giving a reading, as you know, it's tweaking it and whatever. So I'm just trying to work with how I bring that in.
Yeah. Let me just have
I mean, human design changed my life. That's one of the moments that changed my life, certainly in terms of my health and
everything.
Sorry?
I think I lost you for a moment.
Oh.
I heard you say human design changed my life, and then I lost you.
Yeah, no, it changed my life originally from a health perspective, because that was when I was in chronic fatigue syndrome, and also opening up myself to see what's possible for me and to move into this, because I was always going to do about health and recovery from health from my very much headspace. Yeah. And I went, I enjoy human design. Could I dare to do that? Could I dare to bring that into my work? Could I dare then to bring my magic into my work? So I've just done a total 360, if that's the right phrase, from where I would have been based on my lecturing background, etc., in stress and health, blah blah blah, yak into something much more exciting and working energetically, which was something I'd always hidden in the closet myself.
Okay, so that's actually your story, right? Because you're talking to business business leaders who are holding back from fear of judgment. So hearing your story where you share, could I dare? Could I dare?
How do I create that in moments? That's the bit where I'm having a block. Because I can tell it as a story.
Yeah.
But, so is it trying to remember the moment when I wanted to use the human design and was scared about it? That's the bit I'm trying to understand, is what that looks like in moments. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do, yeah. So the reason I use the word moment is because if I don't use the word moment, then an alternative word obviously is just to use the word story. But then people start thinking about having to create a whole kind of beginning, middle, and end story for a moment, and they might not have them, right? It might be literally. So Louise Miller, who did the very first round of Story School, all her story is, if you take out all the kind of engaging sensory and emotive language, the stepping stones of her story essentially are: I was sitting at my laptop and I was exhausted. I stood up to go and get a drink of water, and I suddenly realized, hang on a minute, Louise, you're never, ever, ever going to get everything on your to-do list done. You're never, ever, ever going to have someone come and pat you on the back and say, well done, you can rest now. So I better choose and find out how to rest while I still have things to do on my to-do list, right? That's the bare bones of her story. That's not an interesting story, but the way she tells it, with the sensory and emotive language, and how she took herself off to this cabin by the ocean, and she goes into a little bit of pathetic fallacy. She uses the color and the movement of the clouds to set the mood, and she turns on her device and she types, how do I slow down? And she finds this world of people teaching about how to slow down, blah, 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 blah. So the actual, like your bare bones story might be really boring. It might be like, I had a human design reading and then I realized. Yeah, but it's going to be in the.
Yeah.
Say that again.
I said it wasn't that simple. There was a lot of fighting against it.
Good. So tell us that. Tell us the fighting. Tell us possibly through inner dialogue.
Okay. Yeah, I do a lot of that.
Great. So tell us.
As in my journaling is in a dialogue. Okay.
Yeah. So like when I tell my weird story, you've helped me tell my weird story, right? When I got called weird by a stranger on the internet. So this is one of my kind of key stories. And I just, like, again, the bare bones of the story, it's not exciting. I put a video out and a stranger commented, sure you're full of good intentions, but you come across as a bit weird, and I got back in bed, right? But the way I tell it is, you know, I'm like, I put this video out on Facebook and I could see someone had commented and the comment appears. And if I'm doing it on stage, I click the clicker and the comment appears on the stage and it says, I'm sure you're full of good intentions, but you come across as a bit weird. And I just pause and let everyone take that in as if it's happened to them. Right, and I say something like, you know, and I clasped my phone with the offending message to my chest, and I did what every brave entrepreneur, every brave entrepreneur at some point in their journey has done, and I got back in bed, and I had a conversation with myself, and there were two voices, and one was saying, "See, it's not safe. It's not safe to show up as yourself, unapologetic, unedited. You need to stop this crazy dreaming, get back down, go and get a job, and shut up." And there was another voice, and it was at that time a lot quieter. And that voice said, "This is exactly why you need to keep going, because we are not taught to see another woman shining and cheer her on and lift her up. We are taught to compare and contrast and make ourselves wrong in comparison to another and tear each other down. And you are here to be a part in changing that story. Get up." Suddenly it's a story.
It's finding that pivotal moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yours was the, you know, that messaging, and Louise's was the when she got there on the laptop that day. Although I imagine she probably thought that quite several days before that moment was the last straw day that it happened.
Exactly. And I didn't only have that conversation. Yeah, I didn't have it once. I had it multiple times over years and years and years, right? The inner voice, like, see, it's not safe, keep going. See, it's not safe, keep going. But
I had to give them permission. That was mine. Was somebody giving me permission to do it?
Great. Because then you can be the person giving them permission.
Yeah. Which is what I have been doing.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. You got it. You
Lovely.
got it.
Thank you.
And it's so important, you know, to remember to be positioning yourself in your story as the person who can help. So landing that point that you know, I don't know your language, right? But, you know, for months I was asking, could I dare? And it was only through having the kind and loving support, permission giving support, that meant I knew I could dare, because if I failed, I'd still be held, or, you know, something like that. Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Karen.
Kate, I say be proud to be weird.
Oh, absolutely now, but that was, you know, 7 years ago. But yeah, but that's also, I used that one, I could use other criticisms, but I used that one very specifically and on purpose because my ideal clients are a bit weird.
Well, on the note of weirdness,
Yeah.
as a pain detective, I've evolved my business from my training and working with clients. And I was just reading the Why Me, and I thought, actually, I'm just telling. It's a description. So 15 years of training, success rates, but it's not a story.
Mm.
So when I think about my life recently, I've been involved in a car collision, which would be perfect, but I don't deal with acute conditions. I work with chronic conditions. So car collisions, although I've worked on myself and I got myself back to what I would describe as 99% normal for me in 2 months, I wouldn't advertise that because it's a acute condition rather than something that's been ongoing. So as I think about some of my moments, I jumped off a swing as a child, and I landed on my coccyx, couldn't breathe, went to the GP, but I didn't actually start to resolve the issues until I was in my 30s and 40s, and that was sort of part of my journey. So as a story, would that, or as a moment, would that be okay to use as a why me, or would it be
Yeah.
too lengthy?
No, I mean, we can edit it down. We can make it not lengthy. What we would need to hear is, and I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing that if 30 years later you didn't, and if you didn't deal with it until 30 years later, there were symptoms perhaps that you ignored in the interim. Yeah. Okay. So we need to hear about that, like the symptoms that you ignored, the telltale signs that you ignored. Perhaps did you go and see specialists who tried to help but couldn't?
No, I just went to see a GP. So I was, I don't know, teenage years. So I just went to see the GP, and my bones were clicking, and he said, yeah, that's just gas in your joints, it will go away. And this is part of why I created Body Logic, because the pain goes away, but the problem is still there.
Great. So yes, so this is the story, right? The story, and so many people with chronic pain will resonate with going to the GP and just being told it will go away. Yeah, or it's being told like, oh, it's this, and you're like, it's really not. Yeah,
Okay.
that in itself, the moment of sort of dismissiveness in the GP's office is very pertinent to people with chronic, sort of mysterious illnesses. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, because like I say, as a teenager, I just accepted as truth.
Right. Yes. So it's likely a lot of people who also have. So also, hang on, let's just check in, because there's chronic pain based on past injuries, and then there's chronic illnesses. Which ones do you deal with? Pain. Okay, pain. Okay, so it's not the mysterious illnesses. It's not like endometriosis and fibromyalgia and.
No, I can deal with it, but that's not the area I want to focus on.
Got it. Okay, so it's chronic pain. And tell me your understanding of what chronic pain is.
It's pain that's been in existence for very often years, but it's the medical definition is some pain that's been ongoing for more than 3 months, that's unresolved.
Unresolved pain, and the medical definition has gone on for 3 months. What's your definition?
I stick with that definition. So somebody who's experienced pain for more than 3 months, but it could be intermittent.
Okay.
And this is part of the problem. So people take a painkiller and then pain goes away, but the problem is still there. And then of course the pain comes back because the problem's unresolved.
Okay, so the pain goes away, but problem unresolved, which is exactly what happened to you.
Yes.
So the other way you could go with this, Karen, is actually take it out, in terms of the story, take it out of the context of pain and tell a story about something else that you ignored, right?
Okay.
Something you tried to cover up on a surface level. It could be a relationship, right? It could be that there were, again, just completely riffing here, but just to give you an example, it could be that you were in a relationship and there were signs of narcissism or signs of unfaithfulness, but you ignored them and you ignored them and you covered it up with date nights, or whatever. But the problem was unresolved.
Yeah, interesting. You should choose that. Yes, I can talk about that one.
Okay. So this way you get to communicate the message, essentially, right? That sure, the pain can go away, but the problem is unresolved unless you get to the root of it. And then you segue into, and that's what so many of us are doing with our pain, right? I've been talking about emotional pain, but how many of you are doing this with physical pain? How many of you are waking up in the morning and having to, click your joints back into place and having to blah, 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 right? So you're then translating across the story that they've all just resonated with, the point that they've now understood, you've landed it with them. Oh, yeah, that's true. I do that. Right? I do try and cover stuff up. And that's what I'm doing with my pain. Because the thing about chronic pain is they have been ignoring it. So you've got to get super pokey to get them to pay attention in a different way.
Okay.
Okay, great. Jackie.
Just on my vision, asking a question about that, because on the vision, I'm thinking, is this vision, is it a vision or is it a why then?
No, the vision is why. The vision is the future world that you're doing it all for. The culture you want to be part of creating. Yeah, is that it? That's enough?
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Okay, great. Marco.
First, a little sound check. Do you hear me today? Or is the problem still persisting? I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, it's okay for now. Let's try and see what happens.
Okay, it's not so much a coaching question. I just wanted to say I'm grateful that you brought up this game of coach speed. The reason is I'm still in a 9-to-5 position, so I'm doing my practice aside from that. So you can say I'm half shaman and half real person. And I have always been under the impression for a long time that a lot of coaches out there, they don't have the faintest idea what the people are or how the people think they are talking to.
Yeah.
And it was very refreshing for one thing, to get this coach speed out and to work with it. I have been doing it right before the session, and it brought forth a couple of things, probably not all of them brilliant, not all of them true, but a lot I can integrate into the site, and a lot of what helped me now with this exercise.
Brilliant. I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased. And it's an example of taking what you're seeing right out there in the world that is kind of pissing you off a little bit or boring you even, and then turning it into sort of fuel. Because my experience so often of on the social media scrolls.
My impression is
what are you saying?
Yeah, my impression is a bit, and that is not against you explicitly, not that a lot of coaches live in their own little world. They have encapsulated them. They have totally lost touch. Because I think one of the assets I can bring forth is I come from a regular job.
Yeah.
I spent almost 30 years in a finance controlling function. And a lot of issues that people have with this empowerment, just use this word for the sake of the simplicity, comes from the fact that you are stuck in a business world where you are disempowered, where you are mobbed and bossed. And I think knowing this firsthand, being on the business end of this, can be a huge advantage.
Yeah.
If you never had that experience, how can you relate to it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why I like this middle management example you earlier on in the segment, because I'm using a harsh word here, but from my experience, middle management is a lot about prostitution. You are like a bicycle driver. You bow to the above and kick below. And that is what generates, from my experience, a lot of the frustration and a lot of the troubles and issues people have if they work in such an environment. I just quit such an environment. It is a monstrous relief.
It is absolutely
and
true.
If you've never been there, if you've never seen it and never felt it, Maggie, who is going to appear next week, she is my teacher. So I know about how you get things into your body. Her own practice is about absorbing things with the body and being in the body. And these experiences are also part of them.
Yeah.
And if you have never been there, you cannot feel into them.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that, Marco. It's so important that we, those of us who are empathic, highly sensitive, visionary, magical, that we don't separate ourselves, right? Again, so much of the language out there, ironically, with a veneer of oneness, is incredibly exclusive and judgmental. And, this idea of high vibes only, right? Or like, keep your negative energy away from me. Oh my goodness.
It's a brilliant idea, but the world doesn't work like this.
Yeah, we have to learn how to manage our own energy system so we can go into spaces which are difficult, which are hard, where people are still stuck in very stuck mindsets. So we can actually be of service. Otherwise, we're just talking, we're just preaching to the
I had this discussion with Maggie a while ago, and I think we agree on that point, that being a light worker, to bring up that term, is not about doing yoga or eating vegan. It's about going into the darkness to put a light there. And that's what my wild voice in the first session brought out. Maybe it was muffled in the technical issues, but one thing that very strongly came through is Kate Wolf is more than a six-figure balance sheet. What makes you great is not reflected in your revenue. Okay, it is reflected, but it's not the essence of you.
No, of course not. Of course not. Yeah.
And that is something you would have great difficulty bringing across to a middle management.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was actually really interesting. My dad had his 80th birthday a couple of weeks ago. So I went home for that. So, the garden was full of sort of 65 to 80-year-olds. And many of them hadn't seen me for a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades. And they were asking what I do. And it was such great practice. Such great practice. Like the first person who asked me, I really, I know I teach messaging, right? But I absolutely garbled my answer because I was like, how do I say this to a 60-year-old? I don't even know what their job was. I think they used to teach science or something. And I could see the look on their face of like, I don't know what this person is talking about.
Yeah, that I think is a habit. It's a habitual hazard of teachers. They always write, and they are difficult to introduce the new ideas.
But it was great practice because I had that experience. And then I was like, right, okay, I'm going to have to play. I'm going to have to experiment and find out how can I communicate what I do to this group of people, so that they can hear it. And it's great practice. And I really, really advocate making sure you're hanging out with all sorts of different kinds of people. I've got friends that are lawyers, I've got friends that are doctors, I've got friends that are journalists, I've got friends that are, the yoga teachings, Shakti dancing, 5 rhythms, wild camping people. I've got friends that would never, ever, ever do that. And I think it's really important if you want to actually be creating change in the world to be in the world.
Yeah, and sometimes you find jewels actually. At the moment, while I'm phasing out of my old job, I have a direct superior who is very businesslike, but he also has a vibe into the spiritual. He is a devout Muslim. He has been studying the Muslim texts in the past. And funny enough, he was one in the company who found himself on the business end of my empathy a couple of times. And in the end, I'm leaving him behind more as a friend than as a boss. But it wouldn't have worked on others. There are other people who have the empathy of a sledgehammer, and you can't just get through to them. You can tell, to a certain degree, I get them, I read their problems, but I know I could never talk to them about it. They would just rebuff it completely.
Yeah. Thank you, Marco. I think I saw one other person with their hand up in terms of getting some support. So I just want to check in before we bring. It was Marie-Cecile. Okay, great. So let's come to you, and then we will we'll open everyone up again.
Okay. I had a question about I wanted to have your vision on my elixir bottle. And well, hold on, where am I? Because in my elixir, it's, if I go deep, it's really bringing peace, but a grounded peace, a grounded something really grounded, a grounded inner peace. Would that be? I'm not sure if that's the, what you're explaining.
That works.
Yeah.
A grounded inner peace.
Because I was, I started. I thought it would be more, rest. Like rest was a big part of it, but in the end, rest is to be energized, and rest, if you go deeper, is being, at peace with your inner self. So it's not just rest; it's bigger than rest. It's peace in the end, I think.
Yeah, I really like that. And rest is the path.
Yeah, that's one path to reach peace. But then I just think that, peace is so huge that
your vision will be. Your vision is huge. That's the point of it. And remember that I introduced the piece on the vision by quoting that Greek parable, which was great cultures grow great when people plant trees under whose shade they will never sit.
Oh, I missed that one.
So your vision is a world where everyone is moving through the world with an inner sense of grounded peace.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Beautiful. In that world where everyone feels that, there's no war. There's no conflict. Right? We're all emotionally mature, holding ourselves enough to go, oh, interesting, that person disagrees with me. Carry on with our life.
Okay, so that would be, that's the vision, and that's the, I think it's, because I was stuck on rest, but rest is not enough.
Yeah, rest is like a part of your work.
A path. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Thanks for those lovely comments in the chat. Really nice. Okay, so if you muted us, you should now have your volume back on. So yeah, looks like everyone's here. So, some of you have just spent the last 35 minutes writing. And I want us all to get to hear some awful first drafts. Okay, so bear in mind, we all know that you've literally just written it. We all know that, right? So you don't need to apologize for that, because we all know that, and there's nothing to apologize for. We all know you've just written it, so you don't need to apologize or say, it doesn't yet make sense or it could be better, because of course. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to just read what you have so far. Oh, Jackie, is that a volunteer? And then Beth, and then Becky. Oh, and then Marco, and then Ellen. Okay, let me just write that order down. Jackie, Beth, Becky, Marco, Ellen. How are we doing for time? It's got to pass 45 minutes. Okay.
I'll jump in then.
Yeah.
Okay. Not quite finished, but I'm just going to read what I've got and go from there. Imagine a world where women could live and lead themselves and others from love to create a unique difference in the world. Knowing that their overthinking, feelings of not feeling good enough, fears of judgment, stress, burnout, and that unique stage where they are in their life has nothing to do or is not a reflection of who they are and what they're capable of in the world. That's where I've ended on that. I want to create a world where more leaders have the courage to embrace their humanity and vulnerability with love, and in turn, hold this space for the other people they lead. I've ended there. I'm getting stuck with me or why. I don't even know what's the why, what's the vision.
Okay.
Help there.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you're currently in the world of vision, right? So we'll hang out there.
Yes.
So we can definitely make it more concise.
Yes.
And punchy. And there were two threads that came out equally strong. So it might be both, or you might choose one. So one would be, imagine a world where we are each creating our unique difference. Right? That's it. The other one is, imagine a world where leaders embrace their humanity and vulnerability and lead with love. Which one? The second one. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So now I want you to imagine someone arrives on your homepage, right? They're Googling Jackie Moses. They arrive on your homepage. Here it is. And in a huge banner across the top, in huge writing, it says, imagine a world where leaders embrace their humanity and vulnerability and lead with love. Boom. They're interested.
I'm scared. I'm nervous.
Good. Yeah. This is the power of a potent vision and then a short vision. And the more you add, remember, the more distraction you're giving your people.
Yes.
Yeah?
I love
That's
that.
Good.
I love that. And just based on what we've been spoken in my mentor session with you, and I spoke about the, not feeling good enough, and I work with a lot of powerful women and men, but I've just narrowed it down since doing this program with you to women. And I noticed that when I put a post out, women are the ones that normally respond the most. I put a post out about my mother and me going to the hospital, she's not well, and a heartfelt post out, and there were like 75 comments. Most of them were women. So I'm thinking that that's my group. I want to stay open and I want to reach everybody, but I think
Mm.
I'm more potent if I said women.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I've gone to that. So that's the vision, but I don't know why them then.
Okay. I'm just
And
looking.
based on what, I lost my train of thought, based on what I was saying to you in my mentor session about working with powerful women, many like women on here, and leaders in organizations. And they're really good at what they do. They've done lots of courses, lots of training, they're very experienced. And then there's a part of them that still doesn't feel good enough. It's not reflected in what they're doing, but that's what's kind of holding them back.
Yeah. Okay. So for your why you story,
Yes.
what I would recommend is you tell the stories of the endless certification path. You know, like I'm even kind of seeing an actual path, and you're like, and here I picked up my psychosynthesis training, and then I kept going, and I picked up my 3 principles training, and I kept going, and you're like, and almost like a computer game, you know, like you're stacking your coins or whatever. And then I stood there with 500 certifications, and I asked myself, Jackie, why are you just not fucking doing it? Right? Something like that. So you get them kind of, they're laughing along with you, ha ha ha, dee dee dee, and then boom. Right, and then you flip it like, and I wonder if that sounds familiar. Yeah? Who does that sound familiar to? How many of you are stacking your certifications and trainings? Yeah, people, I wasn't like that. I was doing a play story and people had still put their hands up. Yeah, it resonates. Ugh. Little fruit fly. The fruit fly made me lose my train of thought.
We're talking about certificates, stacking certificates.
Thank you. Yes. And you can, you know, you're very vibrant and dynamic. So you can be doing, they're like, and I'm getting them, and I'm piling them up, and I'm like, yes, I'm nearly ready. I'm nearly ready. I'm so nearly. Ah, Jackie, why you're just not doing it? Yeah, and then you flip it. I wonder how many of you that resonated. And is the next piece of paper you need to get not a certificate, but a permission slip for starting. You know, something like that. Yeah? A permission slip that says, I am good enough, just as I am, and I'm ready.
Got me in tears again, Kate.
Yeah.
I feel that, and I guess other people do here, but I feel it deeply, and I'm sure other women will that I'm working with.
Yeah.
When I say that to them, well, on what they're doing, they're equivalent.
Exactly.
They feel seen and really got on, like, wow, and I really feel that from you. So thank you.
Yeah, brilliant, Jackie. Do you want to do a little improvised version? Like, give us your, you know, that's my style. I'm kind of doing a little bit of what I'm seeing from you. I wouldn't suggest that to everyone because that wouldn't be everyone's style. So this is for you. So take what of that feels good and give us the Jackie version.
So I picked up my business coaching certificate, then I've picked up my spiritual coaching certificate, and then I've got my coaching from Essence certificate, and then I've got my 3 principles practitioner. And actually, I haven't told you, I'm actually doing my psychosynthesis coaching certificate at the moment, and there's many more. Does this sound like you?
Good. Really, really good first improv. And we need the bit in there where you realize, oh,
okay, yes,
the real reason I'm doing all of these certifications is because I don't feel good enough. Yeah, for the bigness of my dream. the bigness of my
Oh, I
vision.
love that. Yes. It's
The
not,
big,
yes. Sorry, Kate, to interrupt you. It's not just not feeling good enough, because my life doesn't reflect that, because I'm doing lots of big things. But I do
yeah,
not feel good enough for the bigness of what I want to do. That is the piece.
yes. And that is the piece they will resonate with. Because they're already leading. Your
Yes.
4 leaders, they're already leading. Other people look at them and think, oh, you're leading a big life.
Yeah.
But they know they've only just started.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And working in the organizations that I've been working in, coaching leaders, they're like leading massive divisions and big departments. And then we have a conversation and that part comes out
Yeah.
and they cry, and they've never had a space to talk about that. And we just work with that.
Great.
And then, after a few sessions, they're back again. It's just the same that you're doing with me here and my coaches do. Absolutely.
Yeah. So in terms of the story, now you're beginning to get like your pieces, right? So you've got the vision super clear. Don't change it.
Yes.
Leaders. I dream of a world where leaders embrace humanity and vulnerability, and lead with love. And then you've got this. The pieces of this story are I was picking up my certificates, right? I wouldn't mention actually that you're still doing one.
I was just joking for this group. But
I know. But I'm just going to highlight it because it
Yes.
just slightly actually takes away from the point which you want to land of.
Yes.
So piece 1, I was picking up my certificates.
Yeah.
Piece 2, I realized the real reason I was picking up all these certificates was because I didn't feel good enough yet for the bigness of the vision, the size of the dream. Blah, 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 blah. And I realized, actually no, that, and then, so third piece, flip it to them. How many of you here resonate?
Yes.
What I'd like to suggest is the next piece of paper you need is not another certification, but a permission slip for going out there, playing big, getting it wrong, whatever, however you speak that. Yeah, and that's what I do, right? So that's how you actually flip it into what's in it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can give them. How would you summarize your work with?
I'm not sure yet about that.
Okay.
A bit confused. Still a bit confused. I keep swapping. It's just confused. I'm a bit confused.
Okay. So I'm trying to find. I must have used a different notebook for your one-to-one session. So I'm gonna have a look to see if there are other clues from that. But with this as the story, right? I would go something like humanity, vulnerability, love, certificates. Oh, it says I don't feel good enough. And that's why when you work with me, we make sure, or we turn your not good enough vulnerabilities into strengths. We turn your doubts into inner guidance, whatever, something like that, so that you can be out there leading in the way you're capable of.
Yes. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. Get that down. Yeah. Get that down. Make sure it's in your words, and then put it in the Facebook group. Okay.
I'll listen to the recording again. Take everything.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Ah, brilliant. Thank you. I'm just making sure I've got the pertinent bits down for you. Lead in the way you know you're capable of. Alrighty, Beth.
Hi.
Hello.
Now, I've been on a bit of a kind of evolving journey with this whole process.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of at a point, I sort of had a realization yesterday that I think what I'm meant to be offering is a sort of a self-healing, a way of self-healing that I've been doing on myself for years, basically. And I have no idea exactly how I do that because it's taken me a very long time to learn how to do it. However, I feel that's kind of that it's the basis of everything that I do. And I haven't talked about it before. I don't talk about it very much because it's so part of my everyday life now. And but anyway, so what I've written is about that. And I've done a story. And it's I hope it's not too long. And I've sort of just got to the end of that. So anyway, I'll read you what I've got. It's quite personal. I dream of a world where we have sovereignty over our own health and well-being, where we're able to identify disease in our body before it takes hold, where we can heal our own bodies swiftly, easily, with love and grace, where we're each masters of our own bioengineering, powerful creators of pure, unadulterated vitality. You know, in the beginning, I didn't even know if it would work. All I knew was that it was a last resort. At the end of my tether and seeing no way out of the terrible, repeating, itching, misery-making symptoms I'd been suffering for a decade, I felt I had no other choice but to turn inwards and face myself. The fire beside me crackled in the hearth. This was my friend, at the time relying on it for all my cooking and heating needs. I was familiar with seeing it spark into life several times a day, both to heat my little round space and to boil my kettle for tea and food. Its warming, comforting presence seemed to watch over me, lending me its heart, its promise of transformation. I'd been ignoring the ever-growing noise within my body. The pain, irritation, distress, depression, and anxiety had become part of my everyday experience. But now enough was enough. I literally couldn't take any more of this Groundhog Day. I was in a repeating cycle of misery and it had been going on for years. Instead of medicating, even with natural remedies, I decided to turn and face the symptom itself, so I did. And what happened blew me away. I called on everything I knew, my guides, my connection to source. For once, I decided to fully trust in something larger than me, something more powerful than me. I called in love. I surrendered. I took a deep breath and turned and faced my nightmare. My body felt tense, my fists clenched, jaw tightened somewhere, yet the state of being I had surrendered to also offered me sanctuary, and I had no option but to continue to soften. The itching had a noise, red, fierce, the pain of ages seared through my body as I held my gaze steady as witness to its rantings. I held its shape with love, deep within the inner space of my body, and as I listened to the story, to the emotion that it contained, it simply dissolved and then was gone, just like that. That's all I've got.
Beautiful. Yeah, look around the gallery. Yeah. Great. Really, really great. That the story, I would say, is pretty much fully formed. I loved the beginning. I didn't know if it would work. I just knew it was a last resort. I think that's a great beginning and will speak to people, obviously, who also sort of like gets there before their cynic gets there, you know, which is a little bit clever. So yeah, beautiful story. And what I like is it shares some of the actual kind of messy middle, instead of a lot of stories will just give you like rock bottom and then I became a millionaire, you know, and it's like I'm sorry, what happened there, you know? And then that's when you get into like magic pill territory. But what I really like is you're sharing some of the messy middle, which means the people who are ready to work in that way, to give up even the alternative medicines, and actually face, you know, what's happening. They're the ones that are going to step in. Yeah. Your vision is a little distracting. I'm like, I don't know where you want me to focus, because there seem to be sort of 4 different pieces to it.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you
I
say
mean, like,
it again?
yeah. I mean, because this is all very new. I only sort of had this since like yesterday, so I'm kind of like sort of so my theme, which I was working on, was connection, connection and separation, and I still feel that's relevant really to what I'm doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So my vision is, and I realized like everything I do, like all my up points, everything, it has got a connect. The theme is connection, basically, on some level. So yeah, this is my vision. I dream of a world where we have sovereignty over our own health and well-being, where we are able to identify disease in our body before it takes hold, where we can heal our own bodies swiftly, easily, with love and grace, where we're each masters of our own bioengineering, powerful creators of pure, unadulterated vitality. It is probably a bit wordy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, I'm like, hang on, sovereignty, hang on, bio resonance, whatever it was, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not boom.
Yeah.
We want boom.
Maybe I dream of a world where we can heal our own bodies swiftly, easily, with love and grace on our own. The idea is that it's self-healing. So I can go in now and I can identify emotional blocks. It's like I've healed lumps in my breast and things like that. I can just I can pinpoint the emotion held within the density, the denser frequency within the body, and then shift it. And it's like, I think if people can do this, it's like, well, it just transform everything. Like everything, yeah, because I know I can just move stuff out of my field straight away. You know, and I get stuck and I forget, and you know, life is life, but essentially this process, and so now I'm thinking of like ways of actually being able to do that, and it's kind of been on the back burner for a while. And I believe actually people will be able to learn to do it a lot quicker than I did, because I think the way that we're living at the moment. So anyway, yeah. So
and because you've done the Reiki, yeah, you did the Reiki, and now you teach.
You're doing it,
yeah. What about something like I dream of a world where we all know we hold the power, or what I wrote down was where we all know we hold the power to get to wild vitality. I feel like for you, because nature is such an important part of your work and us as nature, right? This is the connection, right? This is the interconnectedness. It'd be good to have some kind of word in there. All of it, yeah, like wild, or like nature, or like, but not necessarily nature referring to nature, but like our nature. So have a play with that.
Yeah. Okay. And so my query was, so I've done the why effectively, and then the why you, and then why would it? I couldn't work out. I didn't really understand the why them bit.
Okay. So another way of saying why them is just what's in it for you, right? What's in it for them? What's in it for them? So it would be something like, and because you could also put those 2 bits together, like I dream of a world where we can, let's just go with where we can all heal our own bodies. And that's why I teach, and then we would want to give your process a name, right? So it's a thing people can step into and learn. And then one day, Beth, you can start a certification training in it and train other people to train other people in it, right? So this is like when you get to this level of, you've created something, right? You've created something. So there's an ownership there. So you can now teach other people. And if you one day want to teach those people to teach other people, you can. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit ahead because I see that for you. But so you would say something like, and that's why I teach my, nature's essence process, or my wild vitality process, so that you can take your health in your own hands and never need to step inside a doctor's surgery again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the gist.
Yeah. Yeah, I like wild vitality.
Yeah, it's interesting because that indicates something quite physical, whereas it's actually very energetic. But it can influence it. Like I adjusted like knots in my spine. Also, it can be very physical as well. So I don't know. It's everything really.
Yeah. For me, wild vitality doesn't point just to the physicality. Vitality to me definitely points to energetics.
Yeah.
And it's a word that gets used quite a lot in Qigong, right? Which is one of your tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, people like wild vitality.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, brilliant. Great work. Becky.
Right. I'm just going to go for it. So, if you are someone who chose their career in order to help people to make the world a better place, you might find yourself sometimes wondering if you really are making the difference you set out to do. If you're someone who feels it all, you might feel impatient for change, perhaps for a world where there's no racism, no inequality, where we cherish our one planet. But it's also likely that you might take on too much, spread yourself too thinly, and start to lose hope in that vision for change. I've been in that place. There was a time that I was so moved by the need for change that I would try to help everyone. I would take on difficult roles because I felt I could make a difference. I would pile on extra projects if someone I respected asked me to. I would drop everything for a friend in need. If you want something done, ask the busy person could have been my mantra. I was spinning so many plates, I needed extra limbs. For me, burnout didn't arrive in an explosion, disrupting everything. It came in a quiet fizzling and dampening of my fire. In morning moments of sweaty palms, racing palpitations and nausea as my footsteps echoed in hospital corridors on the way to work. In the moments of exhausted tears and the viruses that wiped me out for days at a time. The cynical words escaping from my mouth in the face of others' optimism. I faced a choice. Carry on the way things were until my fire was merely a smudge on the landscape, or do something to revive the embers before they burn out. I found a coach who gently helped me to discover my joy, my optimism, my creativity, all the things that helped stoke my fire so I could focus on making change and still enjoy life. The world needs people like you, people who feel it all, who can shine brightly, to make the difference you feel passionate about. But the world also needs you to keep your energy up, to choose peace and calm over overwhelm, to choose contentment and joy over inner turmoil, and to choose active hope over cynicism. I believe it's possible for you to protect your candle from blowing out and also light the way to a better world.
I love that last line. Yeah, really, really nice and strong last line. Okay, so couple of questions. Did you used to work in a hospital?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, you still do?
Yeah.
As a doctor or what's?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a doctor. So just make sure people know that before you start the story. Otherwise, we're like, she's in the hospital because she's working there or because she has to go there in the morning before work, right? Just we have to make sure this is a good kind of context example. We do have to make sure they have enough context to know, like, if it's necessary, if it's important, where we are and why we're there. Otherwise, our brains go, what? Yeah, and we just have a little question mark hovering in the air, and then it's harder to be fully with the person speaking. What I really like, but I think you could do it more deliberately and exaggerate it, is when you were talking about their vision, right? You talked about all these different elements. So can you just do your beginning bit again?
So if you're someone who chose their career in order to help people to make the world a better place, you might find yourself wondering sometimes if you really are making the difference you set out to make. If you're someone who feels it all, you might feel impatient for change, perhaps a world where there is no racism, no inequality, where we cherish our one planet. But it's also likely you might take on too much, spread yourself too thinly, and start to lose hope in that vision for change.
Okay. So I wonder if, this may or may not work, so we'll play with it for a bit. But if you can start making the point about them spreading themselves too thinly earlier in your description of the vision of the change they want to create for the world, right? So you'd be something like, you want to stop racism and sexism and global climate change, and make sure that this isn't happening and this isn't like, and keep going, and then stop and go, no wonder you don't feel like you're making the change you dream of making. Nobody can make all of those changes by themselves. It's something like that. And somewhere, I don't know if it's kind of in between or after, but landing the point more about how when you feel it all, you do want all the hardships in the world to change, right? And you want them to change now, because it's hard living in this world as a sensitive being. It's hard living in this world of violence and inequality and as someone who feels it all. So keep landing that point. Okay. And then something like, but you cannot wait for the whole world to be healed for you to be enjoying your life. It cannot be that way around. You are setting yourself up for exhaustion, dis-ease, and disappointment. Right? We have got to get you focused on you and the way you can make your biggest change, so you're focused, clear, and feeling content on that journey. Oh, and stopping to enjoy the view.
Yeah. That's great.
Good. So I would, watch the replay, take that structure, use it as it is, or change words that don't feel right. But really practice landing like the exaggeration of all the things they want to be different. How hard that is when you're feeling everything. Of course you want that, but it's not the way. Flip it around. We've got to focus on you first. And then Becky, so you're a career coach, yeah?
Well, it's not really, I suppose, I don't define myself as a career coach. So it's helping people who've gone into professions where they want to make a difference, or where they feel maybe that what they're doing isn't making the difference and they want to change. That change could be in changing career or what they do, or it could be in finding a balance. So it's mainly about finding balance and contentment, about, maybe it's changing their role, but maybe it's actually doing more outside of their role and doing perhaps less of their work and more meaningful things outside of work that really kind of help keep that fire going, that they really feel they're making a difference.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so that leads on really well, right? From that setup, like, let's get focused on you, let's get you finding balance and contentment, meaningful experiences outside of the context of your work. So you're fired up, ready for work on Monday, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, that all works now. Good. Well done, Becky.
Thanks.
Yeah, good. Okay, Marco.
Kate, I'm breaking the rules here a bit because my shit can wait. I have something for Jackie. It needs to get out. I had it in my mind since the first day here, and if I can't tell it now, I'm just going to explode.
Okay, let's just pause a sec. Let's just pause. Jackie, would you like to hear Marco's share?
I would like to hear Marco share. Marco, we are going to be speaking a bit later. So.
Yeah, but I would like to say it here for the consideration. It is a story. It is not my story. It is the story of Chiron, the centaur. Chiron is a figure from Greek mythology. He was a centaur, half man, half horse. He was a teacher of heroes. He was a teacher of the god of medicine, of Aesculapi. He was also a healer without peer. And one day Chiron got wounded by an arrow. Wouldn't have been a big deal for him, but this arrow had been dipped in the poison of blood of the Hydra. And this wound could not heal. He could not heal it. But for all his crippling agony, he continued, and he was still the best at what he did. And in the end, even Zeus, the very flawed and very proud king of the Olympian gods, he had to honor him. He put him in the night sky as the star sign of the centaur. And I think, Jackie, you will be a brilliant centaur. You will be a brilliant Chiron, because we are all wounded. We all feel we are inadequate, and we still keep going. And there's nothing inadequate about you. Sorry, again, this had to get out. It was the feeling I got from the very first moment when we talked. And I was just going to burst asunder if I couldn't say it. And now, if we still have a moment, I would continue with my part as planned.
Yes, we have a moment.
Good. So I'm not going to start. I have a bit of challenge, perhaps reading what I scribbled down, so bear with me for a second. Do you have that heavy, squishy weight in your gut that gives you the same song all over again? The reminder that this is not the life you signed up for, that you could really do some more with the time and the fire you have inside of you? There was a pivotal moment in my life where I could no longer stand my 9 to 5 because of the unethical things that were going on there, where the actions of my superiors and my colleagues literally wanted me to throw up every day. That was when I decided to bring forth my shaman practice into the internet, into the bright light of attention, to shout out, this is not like it has to be. We are not supposed to be robots following orders, whether they agree with our values or not. We are not supposed to hold back on our dreams, on our visions, and our abilities. We are not supposed to be the fool in the dream of other people for their satisfaction. Again, it does not have to be like that, because we are born for more. So if your gut tells you the situation you are in is not right for you, you are undervalued, underutilized, or buried under a ton of bricks of demands and expectations that are not your own, then your gut just hit the bullseye. It is time to steal the fire back from the gods and goddesses, your fire and not that of others. And that is a point where I too would insert a mission certificate, not only for myself, but for the others as well, to go for it, to go for their inner fire and go for what they want and for their lives, not for others.
Okay. Marco, it's still quite hard to hear you. I think what's happening is when you move your head, the sound kind of pops and it goes loud and then it goes quiet. So next time I'm going to ask you, when you're speaking, to sit completely still, or possibly try it without the headset and we can see if
okay.
Better. So what I am going to say at this point is there's not yet enough engaging story and there's too much teaching, right? There's too much telling, too much teaching. So all the stuff like, you know, we're not supposed to, and it's not supposed to be like that, and da-da-da. Absolutely, we can have lines like that, short, concise, but they will only land in a powerful way if the audience are already with us because we have shared a powerful story. So I'm going to encourage you to go back to your wiggly line, back to the moment exercise, and really try and find those moments in your life that convey the holding back on your dream and then the going for it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And we'll try next time without the headset so that I can give you even more detailed support. All right, Ellen.
Thank you. Everything changed, of course, as I've been listening to you other guys. It's been so interesting. So I've shortened it down and compacted it. So I dream of a world where everyone's life force is freely expressed. And that's why I teach my natural creative process. You might feel stuck in your life, in your body and in your mind. And like me, I was a lecturer once, working so hard to be perfect, pleasing everybody until I fell apart and found that the only place I could find energy again was through doing theater and deep theater work, finding my own expression. It changed every direction in my life. And that's why I would love to help you find your creative force. It doesn't have to be theater, painting, or writing. That's not the kind of creativity I'm looking for. That might not be your kind of creativity. It might be gardening, creating your own business, but so that you can be in the world as who you are, giving and shining your gifts as I know you long to do. Or something like that.
All right. Okay. So again, this is a little bit too theoretical still, not yet story enough. So you mentioned that you were a lecturer and you were pleasing people. Tell us a story about a moment of pleasing someone, overriding.
I actually have it written out, but I thought it was too little time.
Tell us it. Tell us your pleasing story.
Yeah. Yes, I had a period of my life when I was working over every single day, living alone without a partner. So I thought I could spend all my time and energy doing this important work I had as a lecturer at a college university, pleasing everyone, delivering a perfect lecture every day. Of course, I couldn't do it anymore. I broke down crying in front of a colleague and ended up putting a sign on the door of the auditorium. Lecture canceled because of illness. I was exhausted. My doctor gave me 2 weeks of resting time, and I spent it walking in the mountains, writing morning pages and painting black canvases and going to therapy. And every time I got close to the university college building to try to resume my work, my hands would start sweating, my heart was pounding, and I felt out of breath. My legs wanted to run the other way around, and they did. 3 months later, I attended a theater workshop of experimental theater, being a part of that group, playing around with red balls on our noses, supported to find our deep, authentic voice and expressing it in a real, deeply intimate meeting with our audience. I only felt joy, energy, happiness, lightness, exhilaration. Coming back home after that week of theater work, I was filled with intense energy and on purpose, on track again. That is when I realized theater work is what is going to get me back on track. And so I left my college job for just a half year of theater workshop. I never came back. Now, for you, it might be a physical symptom or just a feeling of being stuck and confused in your life. But somewhere deep inside, you know that you have a longing to let your inner tiger out of the cage and come out into the world with your unique beauty and expression.
Much better. Yeah, much better. Such a great example of using the body to tell stories, right? Every time I approached the university building, my hands were sweating, my heart was pounding, my feet wanted to run, and they did. So good. Yeah, people who've had that experience will immediately recognize themselves in it. So really, really good. I think we can get the vision a little bit more juicy, a little bit more juicy, right? So where everyone's life force is freely expressed.
Yeah.
Like, then what? You know? Yeah. So so play with that. Then what? And everyone's life force is freely expressed, because then that's the vision. Your work is freeing up the life force. yeah, for the people that want to do that with you. The vision is what then is then possible. And the journey is going from wanting to please, wanting everything to be perfect, wanting to give the best lectures. I love to put the emphasis on important, like very, very good little clowning moment there, right? Important. Do you use theatre? You do creative workshops, so that's where some of the theatre things and stuff come in. Yeah, cool. Okay, good. Yeah.
Because I wrote this, I believe this world would be a much better place, also peaceful and with peace and love, where everyone is naturally connected, but it becomes too fluffy.
Yeah, a bit wifty wafty. Yes. I see when you specifically talk about this, I see more colour in the world. That's what I start to see. I see in that Sixth Sense version of sight, I see more vivid colour, like high definition. So if that resonates for you,
yes,
have a play with that.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well done, everyone. Really, really good work. And enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend. I'm about to head to the ocean. Really excited. I'm 20 minutes away from the ocean. I'm going to go there for the rest of the day. Keep writing. Yeah, keep writing. You have ideas for structure now. The why, you, and then the like. Let's just call it what's in it for them, right? I think that's clearer. I was trying to make it fit a really pretty model. Why you, why them? But I'm going to abandon the pretty model for clarity. So why you, and what's in it for them? Yeah, and I will see you on Monday. So is that what Monday ? Means? All right, when is our next meet out? Monday? Yes, it's on Monday. So enjoy the weekend. Keep writing. Come on. Oh, actually, let me. No, you don't need to. We'll lay out in the replay email a reminder of steps to be taking. But come on Monday, having done more work on this, so that you're ready to share. More of you are ready to share the whole structure. Well done. For you to have got to this point, at the midway point in the course, is brilliant. Like, you should all be feeling very, very proud of yourselves. Yeah, really, really well done. And I will see you on Monday. Take good care of your precious, precious selves. And bye for now.